Hey everyone, I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be building a plant lover's apartment. So it's an apartment building that I've built. Granted, it's actually very small at the moment. There's actually currently only 3 apartments, and we're just going to be doing one of them in this video. I do have plans to extend the building and the lot to make it bigger, but I wanted to just like focus on these ones to begin with, and then later down the line, if I choose to extend it, which I do have plans for. I've got like plans for like a penthouse style one, and once I've like made the map bigger. But yeah, we're going to be doing a apartment today, and I custom made the building. So yeah, I just wanted to build a like an apartment building, and the theme for the first apartment that we're going to do is a plant lover's apartment, as it's a ground floor and it has a little garden. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Leave a like, subscribe if you have not already and you would like to. Leave comments, let me know what you think of the apartment, like the first apartment, and the building overall. Any other support you guys can give the video is really appreciated, so thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the video, and don't forget to check out some of the other videos that I've done after this one if you would like to. So for this video, we're just going to be decorating the first apartment for this building. So I custom made the apartment building, and I didn't want to do the stop motion for this one. There's been a couple of builds lately that I haven't done the like stop motion build of, but I do go in to begin with and show you guys sort of like me building the layout of the inside. So I build the interior walls of the first apartment, so like with you guys. Hopefully that makes sense. So like if you were curious, you could get a general idea of like how long the walls are or how big certain rooms are and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't want to do a stop motion for the whole of this build. I definitely could have, but I just didn't want to, as I was mainly focusing on the ground floor apartment, just the one apartment. And as I said, the theme for it is like a plant lover's apartment, and I thought that it was sort of like the best theme to go with, considering the ground floor has its own little garden. It's tiny, but you know, if I was to ever have an apartment, like I would prefer one that had like a little bit of an outdoor space. So kind of a luxury, I guess. But yeah, so this one is the ground floor, and it has a little bit of a garden with a deck. So I just thought that it was really fitting to go with a sort of like plant lovers theme, or like, you know, dream apartment. There's lots of plants everywhere, as I mentioned, lots of like nature posters and like outdoorsy photos and stuff like that. So as it's just all of the apartments in this building so far, as I said, there's actually only 3 of them, but I do have plans to like extend and make it bigger and stuff like that, but that won't be for a while. But yeah, so there's currently only 3 of them, and all 3 of them they're not huge, they're quite small. So they're only like 1 bathroom, 1 bedroom, and like a living room, stuff like that. So this first one, I think one of them is actually like a studio, but sorry, I'm getting so sidetracked talking about the whole building. But yeah, just this apartment, it has a living room, the small garden, a kitchen, a little entranceway, a bathroom, and then a bedroom. Now, because it's like an apartment and the way that I've laid it out, there's only windows on like one side of the apartment. I mean, I guess that's pretty much how apartments are, unless you're lucky enough to sort of like have a corner apartment where you could get like windows on like 2 of your walls. But yeah, this one, it's got windows in the living room and it's got windows in the bedroom, and you can get out to the outside space from the living room and from the bedroom. So I thought that was a really good thing, you know, getting in as much light as you possibly can throughout the day and stuff. So yeah, as you come into this apartment, you've got like a little area where you can drop your shoes, your coats, stuff like that. There's a little storage room which actually ends up having the washing machine and tumble dryer. I've got a habit lately of just building really tiny rooms with I mean, it's not really a room, you can't really get in it, but like cupboards which house the washing machine and tumble dryer, like a double stack. I don't know why, I just find them like the most easiest thing to do. So a lot of my builds lately have those in them just because they're like tucked out of the way and it's convenient. But yeah, so it has like a little storage room there with that, and then it has a small kitchen with a breakfast bar, and then a bathroom, a little workspace. I had to put in a little office area. But to begin with this build, rather than starting off with the kitchen, I'm actually doing the living room. The living room is the biggest area of this house, and as I was going with the theme of like, you know, it's a plant lover's apartment, I wanted a lot of plants everywhere, so that's definitely what this, don't think I went overboard. I think I possibly could have added more plants, but I think there's enough to like give, you know, the idea that I was going for. I didn't want it to be like a jungle. The bedroom kind of maybe ends up a bit like a jungle because I use the vines on the wall, but you guys will see that later on in the video. So yeah, I didn't want the whole place to be literally like a jungle, but I definitely wanted a lot of plants around. And honestly, I think one of my most used plants is the hanging ones. You can have the darker version, or you can have like the white version, and I really love those plants. They just add some, I use them in pretty much every single build. I really do. And then one of the new plants that they've added in, I think it's a Chinese money plant. I think that's what it's called. Or it's something money. It's like the little it's got little like circle leaves on it. It's super cute. I believe it come out with the Scooby-Doo DLC, and that's another plant that I really like to use a lot of in my builds lately. But yeah, so lots of plants. The color scheme as well is pretty, it's not like neutral, but it's a lot of, I guess, neutral earthy colors. So there's lots of browns, there's lots of pale wood but dark wood. I end up going for a green sofa, and then like I decorate it with the cushions and stuff like that. But I knew I wanted like plants everywhere, and I did something a little bit different with the living room in this house. Not just like the living room, I guess just furniture wise in general. It could happen in any room. But with this one, whenever I like build rooms and stuff like that, I always feel like it makes more sense for items and furniture pieces to be like flush against the wall. Like I feel like in real life I wouldn't really have something that was like out an angle, but with the living room with this, as you can see in like the beginning part, I had this shelf, and I really like the shelf. It come out with the Scooby-Doo DLC. But that shelf, I thought that was like a great one because it has like different level shelves. Hopefully that makes sense. But I was thought, you know, you could stack this up with like books and plants and just like different decorative pieces and stuff like that. So I really wanted that, but I put it at an angle, and I don't think I have ever put anything in a build like this at an angle, because in real life I just think to myself, why? Like, why would I do that? So I always feel like things fit better and look better when they're like flush against a wall. But with this build, I actually really liked how that shelf ends up looking sort of like at an angle, because I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I just think that it looks really nice at an angle, and I'm really glad that I decided to keep it like that and I didn't put it flush against the wall. I just think it adds something a little bit different to the room, and I don't know, maybe the theme, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I'm really glad that I decided to keep that at an angle. Let me know what you guys think about having things like that at an angle in a room. Like, do you prefer to have things like flush against the wall? It's like what I said, like in real life I don't know if I would ever do something like that unless I had like the space, or you know, you had like not tons and tons of furniture. But yeah, I really like how it looks in the game. I just don't know in like real life I could have something like that. I could definitely have this apartment in real life. Um, but yeah, do let me know what you think in the comments about like having different furniture pieces at angles and stuff like that, because I'd be really curious to know if you guys like that sort of stuff, or if you guys would do something like that in your house and stuff. It just never, I always feel like things are just gonna like fall behind it. I mean, this is like a shelf, so if anything falls behind it, then you know, it's fine. But if it was like, I don't know, a chest of drawers, or I think I've seen wardrobes before in like actual like real homes, where they've been like at angles, or like a chest of drawers, and I can't help but think if stuff gets like dropped down the back of it or anything like that, I don't know, it just kind of like bugs me. But for this build, honestly, I really like it. So yeah, the living room ends up just being really like planty, if that's a word. So I use two of the, again, the units that come out with this Scooby-Doo DLC, and I put them together. Luckily with those you can actually like switch the side of like the empty part and then which side the drawers on. So I do that, and then I stick those together to create a bigger TV unit, and I really like how that turns out. And then I use a sort of like yellow wood. I can't remember the name of it again. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad with remembering the names of like the actual like textures or colors or different like wood patterns and stuff like that in the games. But as always, if any of you are curious and you would like to know or anything like that about any pieces in my builds and stuff, let me know and I will find out and leave a reply in the comments. But yeah, so I use a lot of like light wood, and then I use dark wood, and as I mentioned, the sofa ends up being green. It's sort of like a, I don't think it's like olive green, but I think it's like a nice green. It's not like a gross green, and it's not like a really pale or really vibrant green. I feel like it just ties the room together. I think I use the same sort of green in my in Harmony with Nature house. I think I use the same sort of green in that house. But I really like it, and I think that the whole thing just like ties in together. Obviously greens, browns are very like nature, and then the walls are just pretty much beige throughout the whole house, almost pretty much, apart from a few sort of feature walls. But the living room is just like pretty much beige, and then there's a small coffee table. There's a rug that I end up putting down which ends up becoming white, I'm pretty sure, which I feel like is nice because I think a lot of the items in the living room are quite dark anyway, so I didn't want a super dark rug or anything like that. Overall, of course, you know what I'm going to say, I'm really happy with like how the build turned out, like everything, but I'm really happy with how the living room turns out as well. There's like a shelf above the sofa, and then as I mentioned at the beginning, you have the double doors, or the sliding doors, sorry, that lead out into the little garden area, and I've put windows that pretty much surrounding the whole sliding door, so it's pretty much a wall of windows. So I was just trying to let in like as much light as possible into the living room and like the bedroom and stuff like that. The living room and the bedroom windows are pretty much identical. They both have the sliding doors and stuff. But yeah, the living room is very planty. There's lots of plants everywhere. We've got big ones, we've got small ones. I wanted lots of little plant pots around, so I have 3 or 4 of the small plant pots that I really like using. I use them like almost guaranteed in every single build. I don't know, I just have certain items that I'm drawn to and with plant pots there's certain ones that I really like using. I do try to use a few like other ones in builds sometimes, but I do keep going back to the same plant pots, and they're just really nice. They just fit with like any vibe, any theme, any sort of like design you want to go for a house. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but it was something that I noticed while I was doing this build specifically because I wanted it to be like very plant orientated. I was using a lot of the same plant pots over and over again, but there's a few different plants and stuff that I use and everything like that. But yeah, super happy with how the living room turns out. And then when I'm done with the living room, I go on to do the kitchen, and I love this kitchen. I really love this kitchen. So I had two different swatches for like countertops down as different ideas that I wanted to go for. One was quite pale and the other one was quite dark. I was torn between the two of them because I thought that they both looked really nice. I think I've done a green kitchen before in a few different builds, but I really like how this one turns out. I decided to end up going with the lighter color green, and I think it was the best choice for the house. The other one was nice. I feel like it would look nice in maybe like a bigger kitchen, but because this kitchen, I kind of like squeezed it into this little corner of the house or apartment, whatnot. I thought that the lighter green would work better, so that's what I ended up going with. And there's sort of like a big empty space. It's not like huge, but it's like a walkway space, like from the front door to the kitchen to the living room and to the office to the bathroom. So there's like a big sort of it's not a corridor, I guess, just like walk space. Hopefully it like flows nice, but I mean I think it flows pretty well. So yeah, I didn't want like a dining room table or anything in this one, so I go with a breakfast bar. And the way that I do the breakfast bar with this build, it was a little bit fiddly to figure it out, but I use a corner counterpiece, and then I create a breakfast bar using the shelf, the windowsill. I really like that because it's thicker than the shelves. It fits in almost seamlessly with the like existing countertop. You have to mess around with the move tool a little bit, but it works, and I'm happy with how it turns out, because otherwise if I would have used the built-in breakfast bar that's on the corner counter, because it's a corner counter, it has like a bump out that would go into the wall, and it was fine, but it wasn't like enough. I needed more counter space there to fit the breakfast bar. So it might look a little bit weird, but you've got the breakfast bar and one side has like a bigger gap under the bottom of it, and that I decide to put in sort of like a little robot hoover and like a plug and stuff down there. So that's where that's kept, but you can still comfortably sort of like sit there and enjoy dinner, breakfast, have a coffee, read a book, you know, if that's what you wanted to do. Get some work done on your laptop if you didn't want to sit over at the desk that I also built. But yeah, I'm happy with how the breakfast bar for the living room, for the kitchen, how that turned out, and just overall really happy with how the kitchen turned out too. So to begin with, I use the same green for the countertops as like the counter cupboards as the wall cupboards, but I end up swapping out to a sort of like brown. Again, I can't remember the name of the wood effect that I used, but in the store it's one of the paler ones, and it's one of the ones that you can change the color of, and I chose sort of like a brown color to go with that. Again, the theme of like Plant Lover's House, I wanted it to be so like naturey, so lots of green, lots of brown, lots of wood. So the cupboards for the kitchen end up being a sort of like wood colour, and then I also make the breakfast bar the same wood colour as the cupboards, and I really like it because it's sort of like it makes it blend in. And then you've got the green for the like actual floor cupboards, and then you have like just a white fridge, which I think fits well. And then the cupboards actually sort of like they wrap around to where the breakfast bar is, but the area where the breakfast bar is, instead of it being cupboards, I put 3 separate shelves there, and then I just fill the shelves up with some random little bits and bobs. The containers that have like the coffee beans and stuff in it. Sometimes, as I've mentioned in previous builds, I'll use those containers to like act as different food, whether it be rice, flour, anything like that that you want to try and like imagine could be in those containers. I try and do that. So those are in the kitchen, and of course there's lots of plants and stuff that I do end up putting in the kitchen as well. You'll see the majority of like the finished stuff obviously like towards the end of the build and in the tour and the screenshots and stuff like that. But I really just like the whole like vibe of this apartment. It's very earthy. And then the different decorations and stuff that I put in the kitchen, like toaster, kettle, coffee machine, blender, stuff like that, I've used the same sort of green as the kitchen cupboards. I don't know if that was like a good idea. They definitely shopped around and made sure they could match all of their appliances to the kitchen cupboard color. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind it. I feel like it fits fine, but I don't know. I feel like sometimes with the appliances specifically, I struggle to think of colors because I don't always just like them being like plain white or black or something like, you know, normal appliances are, unless you shop around and you find ones that are specifically colored, which is maybe what this person did. Maybe they definitely wanted to have a toaster and a kettle that matched the kitchen cupboards. Like, I don't hate it, but I do feel like maybe I should have chose a different color, but it's not like the end of the world. I think that's fine. It'll be more than functional. The person who lives here loves it, so that's all that matters. I'm pretending as if somebody does actually live here. That's a bit weird, but yeah, the microwave is just like a plain sort of like metal color, you know, as microwaves are. So yeah, I'm just really happy with how the kitchen come together, and I really like the wraparound shelves that I do to sort of connect the cupboards to the breakfast bar and stuff like that. I think that was a good choice. I don't know if I would have liked to have like cupboards there. I feel like the shelves make it feel a little bit spacious, but also you can have things on display like photos and just like different plants and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really happy with how the kitchen turned out. It's pretty small, but it's got the breakfast bar, fridge. I remember the fridge. It's got the oven. It's got like a little sink, stuff like that. So yeah, more than functional, and I think that it fits the apartment really well. So once I'm done with the kitchen, I move on to the entranceway and the little door that's by the entranceway. So I wanted the entrance for the apartment to be pretty simple, you know, just a place where you would drop off your coat, bag, shoes, keys, any mail, stuff like that. So it's very it's pretty spacious. I think I ended up using the kitchen cupboard counters. I've done this before in a build, but I end up using those and like stacking them on top of each other, trying to make it seem as if like it's one cupboard. With this one though, I didn't actually use the corkboard piece, which I definitely should have. I must have just like completely forgotten about it, because you can still see the lines, but that's just like a small detail that I didn't go back in and change, unfortunately, but it still has the same sort of like function. I've made the cupboards at the top have like the handles, so we can just imagine that, you know, it's almost a floor to ceiling cupboard where you would stick your coats. It's quite slim, so maybe the coats, instead of going like sideways, they go like face on. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know, I feel like I'm being a bit weird about it, but there's that, and then there's some smaller cupboards which are like individual ones, and those are the ones that I was thinking where you could put your shoes and stuff like that. I did want a mirror in the entrance, but none of the mirrors was like fitting how I really wanted. So I ended up just taking two of, they're sort of like square mirrors, but they have rounded corners, and I use those in the entrance area, and I think they look fine. They're kind of orange, so they're sort of like a little bit of mid-century coming in, which I think's fine. Of course, there's like a little plant, and then again, I use sometimes the fruit bowls, take the fruit out of them, and just stick in some keys with the fishing rod tool and stuff like that, and it can just be like a little place for you to come in and you stick your keys in the bowl so you always know where they are. And then there's just like some letters and mail that's like down on the side as well. So yeah, the entrance, sorry, is pretty simple. And then as for the cupboard, right next to the entrance and next to the breakfast bar, as it is literally just got a washing machine and a tumble dryer in it, a mop, a bucket, and some of the containers, which I changed the colour of the stuff to make it seem like it's like laundry detergent and powder and stuff like that. So yeah, just like a little storage cupboard. Nothing really super exciting goes on in there apart from a place where they can wash their clothes. I do make the washing machine and the tumble dryer like a green color. I don't know if maybe I went a little bit too far with the color green in this build. Do let me know, but it fits the vibe and I'm happy with it. So a green washing machine and tumble dryer is what we have in that cupboard. And then once I'm done with the sort of like the entranceway, the laundry section and the kitchen, I move on to do the little like office nook area. I was fiddling around quite a lot with the sort of like officey area, trying to figure out a layout and what desk to use. I really wanted a corner desk, but it was just a little bit too big. So again, it's the corner desks that come out with the Scooby-Doo DLC, which I really like. Just that whole like set of items I really like. But the corner desk was actually a little bit too big because I wanted a shelf unit next to it as well, and it wouldn't fit, and I didn't want to make the bathroom any smaller, so I actually ended up custom making a full desk, and I really like how it turns out. I don't think you can really tell once it's fully done that it was like custom made, once obviously the colors and everything are like matching together, but I kind of mimicked the desk that I did want to use, that corner one. I mimicked the way that one looked, but just made it a little bit smaller. So like you already have I think they're bedside tables, I'm not sure, but honestly any item can be used however you want it to be. I think that's my motto in House Flipper. But yeah, so like you already have the sort of storage cupboards and stuff like that with the drawers that were attached to the original desk, so I just used those. I used two of those. Hopefully I'm making sense, but the original like corner desk that wouldn't fit 'cause it was a little bit too big. One side had like shelves and then the other side had drawers, so I just used the drawer versions. As I said, I think they're like bedside tables, but I used two of those, and then I used shelf pieces to create the top of the desk. And then I mimicked the corner desk, like the original one, with it has like supports built into it, which obviously would be like a good idea. So I just mimicked that, and I put in some supports of my own to, you know, make the desk look a little bit more realistic. So those are there, and yeah, we have a fully custom built desk. And it's not the first time that I've made a custom desk. I've made quite a few custom desks in House Flipper 2. I don't know why. I guess it's the same as the like kitchen sinks and stuff. Bathroom sinks. I make a lot of like custom bathroom like sink storage and stuff like that. I really like my most used bathroom sinks, are the ones that they don't have like cupboards attached to them. It's just like the sink on like a little bit of shelf. Hopefully that makes sense and you know what I mean. But yeah, I do really like how this desk turned out, and again, I think it's more than functional. So yeah, just super happy with how it turned out. And I think when the colors and everything are the same, you'd be kind of like, if you didn't know that it was custom made, I don't think that you would be able to tell. So yeah, super happy with that. But yeah, just like a little working area. This is one of those sections where I have sort of like a, I guess it could be called like a feature wall. I use I'm pretty sure it's called herringbone. That's like the only pattern that I really know. It's like the I don't know, when you look at it, it looks like arrows pointing upwards. So I had that as like a little feature wall for the office area. And yeah, and with having the custom desk built, or with building a custom desk, sorry, I could fit in a shelf storage section right next to it. So it's pretty snug, but it fits without having to use like the move tool or anything like that. It was like literally the perfect fit. So I was so happy with that. But yeah, just like a little office area. Obviously we've got like a computer, a laptop. I put in a couple of shelves with some books and stuff like that, and then the big shelf unit also ends up having a like just some storage stuff, some plants, a printer, just different things like that. And then I use one of the what's it called? It's like one of the little like display cases, and I put a rose in it. I was kind of like thinking Beauty and the Beast style. Beauty and the Beast style rose in a glass box. I don't know, maybe their partner bought them a rose and they wanted to keep it and stuff like that. So I just thought that was like a cute little touch to have on the desk as like a little display piece. And then I put some other like little roses in there as well. But yeah, I really like how the little office section turned out, and I think it would be more than functional, like if this person worked from home or something like that. Maybe not all the time, but sometimes you have like the little working area, and then you do have a sort of like a separate living room where you can go and like chill, and then you have the kitchen and stuff like that. So I feel like for a practicality, getting stuff done type thing, it would be like a cool apartment to live in. Or if it wasn't like a work from home station, it could be just like a little gaming station or something like that. Even though it's like not in its own room, it has its own little section, sort of like tucked away in the corner. So yeah, super happy with how that little area worked out, and I was really happy to build another little office. I haven't built a sort of like little office section in the past couple of builds. I did build the like gaming room and stuff like that in the man cave house, but I wouldn't really class that as like an office. So I was really happy to build another little like office again. But I did love that gaming section. But yeah, so when we're done with the I'm done with the office, I move on to the bedroom. I really like how the bedroom turns out. It's pretty simple. I do have sort of like a little feature section in the bedroom. I've seen it on Pinterest. I'm pretty sure it was where I've first seen it, but you have like these I don't know what you would call them, poles or like decorative wood pieces, wood slats. I'm not really sure what you would call them, but you have them like on the wall, and they're all sort of like different lengths and sizes. Not different sizes, but they're all different lengths, and then just like you put them on the wall, and then you can have like shelves in between them and stuff like that. So I wanted to do that in this build because I thought that was like a nice little feature section with some shelves, and then on the shelves, of course, it's like a plant lover's apartment, so I could put lots of plants down, some books, and other little like decorative little bits and bobs. So that's what I do in the bedroom, and I really love how it turns out. I've done something similar to this in a different build. I think it was my underground build. I think it was that one where I done something that was like along the same lines with using different lengths of wood on the wall. Hopefully that makes sense. I used the I'm pretty sure it was the shelf pieces. It wasn't the resizable block for this. It was, I'm pretty sure it was the windowsill that I used for creating these little like little slats, or I really don't know what to call them. I'm so sorry. I don't know what would be the correct term for them. Just like bits of wood on the wall. I'm pretty confident I used the windowsill piece, and then obviously I just like made them a sort of brown. It's a different wood texture and colour to the rest of the items that are in the bedroom. So the rest of the items in the bedroom end up being a pretty like dark wood. Again, I've used the same sort of like beige wall colour as the rest of the house. I did try to add sort of like a patterned wallpaper to the bedroom, but every one that I was putting down, I wasn't liking it, so I ended up not using a wall pattern in the bedroom, and I just went with plain walls and used plants and pictures and stuff like that as decorations. So the bedroom ends up having 2 wardrobes, 2 like chest of drawers, a washing basket, and then a little like storage cupboard, and just lots of plants and pictures and vines above the bed, which I think actually turned out pretty nice. Like, I do really like how the vines turned out above the bed with the pictures and stuff like that I used, and I used 2 different lights and merged them together to create sort of like, I don't know, ball lights, if that makes sense. You'll be able to see it when I get to the tour and stuff like that, but I've done something similar to that in another build as well. I don't know if it was specifically with those lights that I use in the bedroom, but I've done something similar where I've merged 2 lights together to create like another light. And what I'll do is I'll only have 1 light attached to a light switch, so only 1 light comes on, so it's not too glary or anything like that. And yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. They kind of end up looking like acorns a little bit, so that's what we'll go with. We'll go with like acorn lights in the bedroom. But yeah, lots of plants. Again, I use a pretty dark green for the bed covers and stuff in the bedroom, along with a lot of like dark wood. Again, it just sort of like screams earthy and so like plant lovers, nature, stuff like that. And the wall I was trying to use wallpaper on, I end up using one of my favourite stone pieces and making it a sort of like a beige colour. It's sort of like a cream beige, so I use that for the headboard piece instead of using wallpaper. So yeah, super happy with how the bedroom turned out. I really like how that turns out. And then once I'm done with the bedroom, I move on to the bathroom, which is the last sort of like room in the apartment. The bathroom ends up being pretty simple, so it just has a toilet, a sink, a shower bath combo, and then some storage cupboards. I don't really custom make anything in the bathroom this time around, unless you count the sort of like the shower bath combo, or I do put a shelf over the top of the 2 cupboards that's in the bathroom just to make it seem a bit more seamless. But yeah, the bathroom is honestly pretty simple. It's very light but also quite brown. I use the same wall texture as the bedroom, it's just a different colour, and I use that pretty much for the whole bathroom. And then the bathroom also ends up having sort of like a feature wall in it, if you will. It's just like brown. I don't know the pattern of it, but it's like square patterns, and then in the squares you have the different lines, like horizontal and vertical lines. I just used that in the bathroom. I wasn't really sure what to do in here. You know, it's just a small place. You don't really spend that much time. I put some vents up for some ventilation and stuff like that. But yeah, overall just a pretty simple bathroom. I thought with the bath, maybe I use one of the pillows as like a bath pillow, I guess, if you will. So if they had a bath and they wanted to relax, they got somewhere soft to lean their head and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much the bathroom. So once I'm done with that, I move on to the last area of the house, which is the garden area. As I said, it's a pretty small garden. Like, it's not huge or anything. It is pretty small. There's a little bit of grass, and then there's like a big deck area. And because it's like a plant lover's apartment, I wanted it to be full of plants. I did try and put in a lot of vines and stuff to begin with, the ones with like flowers on them, but I was not liking it. I felt like it was a little bit too much. So I do end up getting rid of those, but I do keep in some vines and then just a lot of planters and stuff like that. So the walls of the little garden area are just like, they're just an extension of the apartment building, if you will. So they sort of like stay the same color as the exterior. I didn't want to change those too much, although I do put a little trim at the bottom. The deck for the garden is the same sort of like cut pattern as the one that I used in the bathroom, just a different color, and I really like how it turns out. And then yeah, there's just like lots of planters and stuff around in the garden with lots of different plants. We've got some roses, we've got some vines, we've got some bushes and stuff like that. So because the deck is actually kind of big, it pretty much takes up like, I'd say 80% of the garden. I mean, it's not like huge anyway, but I wanted like a little seat out there with a little table. You could go and enjoy coffee, read a book, that sort of thing. I feel like it's not like a super like luxury apartment, but I feel like it would be a luxury to have like a garden in an apartment. So yeah, whoever has this place is very, very lucky. But with the deck, I use a resizable block piece, the sort of like rounded one, to create steps down onto the like grass area, as the apartment building itself is sort of like 2 blocks high. I didn't want just like normal steps going down into the like grass section from the deck area. Obviously like 2 blocks is too high to like for your character to walk up and stuff, so I ended up making sort of like rounded steps to lead down. And as I mentioned, and as you guys will see when we get to the garden and stuff, it's really small, so it's not like tons and tons that I could play with, but I knew I wanted the deck, and the deck is pretty big. But yeah, so the stairs are like rounded, and I really like how those turned out. And then we just have like a little seating area. There's lots of plants around in the garden, of course. I put some herbs growing in some colourful pots on the wall and stuff, so they can go out in the garden and just pick some fresh herbs for dinner, a salad, stuff like that. And yeah, it's just like a really small garden area. I put some bushes and bits and bobs out there. I've put some flowers and just some normal like bushes and plants and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm super happy with how the garden and the build turns out as a whole. I did, as I said, I started putting like flowers, like flower vines all over the walls in the garden, but I was hating it. I really didn't like how it looked. I felt like it looked a little bit too messy, and I don't know, I just wasn't liking it, and I don't think it really went with the house. I don't know if it was just the colors of them or what, so yeah, I ended up changing that. I kept a couple, but I didn't I got rid of quite a few because it just looked too much. I feel like it was more with all of the flowers on the walls, it was kind of, I just pretty much felt like it was too much, so so I got rid of most of them. I did keep some of them, and then the vines, I found a better vine that I thought would fit more. Like, there's a tree outside, so I'm thinking the tree, or maybe like there's some bushes and stuff out there, so it's kind of like falling into the garden and stuff like that, and the plants that they have are also like creeping up the wall. And so yeah, I do end up changing that and then just putting in little like other garden pieces. There's this one like garden, so like I don't know what to call it, it's like a little shelf thing and on it I end up putting just a few like empty vases, some tools. We've got some like rakes and shovels and just little things like that that they could do gardening with. There is also like a hose that I put down in the like on the deck. I think that's something that would be really nice, is if we had some other, you know, we've got like plug sockets and stuff like that. I feel like it would be really cool if they added something that was like an outdoor tap or something to, you know, go on the wall, because otherwise if you think about it, you're gonna have to like use the hose to, like, you're gonna have to traipse it through your whole house. I know like an outside tap isn't like what everyone has. We don't have an outside tap, but it would be cool if that was something that they added into the game. I'm sorry, I'm like going off I'm like going off on a tangent here, but yeah, so it's just like fill out with some empty vases and stuff like that. Maybe they're just ones that they've bought and they thought was really nice and they'll get around to using them at some point. And then we've got some other planter stands, which I really like. The planter stands that we have in House Flipper 2, I think they're really nice. But yeah, that is pretty much the garden. It's really simple, just like full of plants. I have gone for a lot more like green plants than I have like flower plants, but there are some flowers and roses and different things like that around in the garden, but just overall for the whole build it's more or less like green bushy plants than it is like flower plants, if that makes sense. But yeah, really happy as always with how the build turned out. But yeah, that's gonna be it from me for this video. I really hope that you guys enjoy the rest of the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think of the theme. Did I go too far with the green? Did I use too much green in this house? Do let me know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned. Sakura DLC is coming very soon. I can't wait to check out all of the new items. I'll definitely be doing like an item showcase and I'll be going through the jobs. I'll probably do the jobs without commentary, just because it's a little bit easier that way and I just like to share them. And yeah, I can't wait to build something with the new items and everything like that. I've already mocked up a few shells, so it's just a case of picking one once the DLC comes out and hopefully moving it to the other map area that's also going to be available in Sandbox Mode. At least I think it's going to be in Sandbox Mode. I hope so. But yeah, so as I mentioned, I do have plans to sort of like extend this whole apartment building, as currently there's only 3 apartments in it. So stay tuned for different videos on this build. I would definitely like to obviously like extend it, as I said I do have plans for, but also do videos on the other apartments that I would like to do. One of them, which I think will have to be like an addition to this, will be like a big penthouse, which I have an idea for, but I think I'd like to finish the 2 apartments that are already here before I move on to like extending the map and extending the build as a whole. But yeah, hopefully this the builds will just grow. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope that you have enjoyed it up to this point. I hope you enjoy the rest of it. If you do just want to skip to the tour, the screenshots, anything like that, it's completely fine. I understand. I just really appreciate you guys taking the time to check out my videos and everything like that. Let me know what you think. Leave a like, subscribe if you would like to check out some of my other videos after this one, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care. Bye.